Hey, what's going on? Shark Tank here, and apparently a brand new Famitsu article came out between Nomura and Famitsu, where Nomura kind of just comes in, asks some questions about, or he answers questions about Final Fantasy VII Remake and Kingdom Hearts 3, the DLC Remind, and I kind of thought to myself while reading through it, hey, you know what? Let's just kind of like make like a video, just reading what he has to say and just giving his thoughts on it and just giving my thoughts on it and just hearing the information that Nomura has to say. So yeah, we could go through this one at a time and just see where this all goes and yeah, just see what Nomura has to say about the new DLC. So yeah. Okay, so the first question here is, before E3, a paid DLC Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind was revealed. What is the meaning of this title? I'm often contacted by the public relations department and been told it's a reminder. It means something like reconfirmation, but at the same time you're prompted to reply, laughs. That is what it means, but it also has a double meaning. So the meanings are reminder, reconfirmation, and the heart's regeneration. Okay, that's kind of interesting. So yeah, he says it has like a double meaning from like an actual business Square Enix company standpoint. It's from the people asking him, hey, is the DLC still happening? And he's constantly, being reminded that, oh yeah, it's still happening, guys. But at the same time, from a story perspective, it will actually have a meaning in the story. So I really like that, like the Nomura always adds like a bunch of like meanings behind it from like a real world standpoint. And from the, the story and gameplay standpoint, so that's really interesting. So yeah, it's a pleasant surprise to hear that Riku, Aqua, and Roxas are playable. Is this a scene where we fight against the strongest class enemy, Limit Cut? No, you got it wrong. The elements shown during the video are included to the main story. It is not related to Limit Cut. The last thing shown during the video is a new Keyblade in transformation, Oathkeeper, for Sora. It will be released simultaneously as a paid and free DLC. I can't say much about the Limit Cut bosses for now, but it will contain a close amount of bosses like last time, Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix. That's really interesting. So as we saw in the trailer that came out around E3, the people that we see, fight in the actual trailer itself is not the actual Limit Cut bosses. They have just not been shown yet. And the new Keyblade in transformation will be released as paid and free DLC. So I'm not sure what's going to be free and what's not going to be free. I'm assuming Oathkeeper will, still be a free DLC. And it really makes me curious as to whether or not like Oblivion will be a free DLC also, or whether or not it may be paid. And yeah, but the thing that's really interesting is that he said the amount of new bosses in the DLC will be as much as Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix. So I'm assuming that, that's including all of like the data boss battles from the Cavern of Remembrance. So that's like what, like, and also including like what, like, the Lingering Will, and I think one other, that's like what, like 15? So that's a lot, not even gonna lie. What, 13? Isn't that way too much? It has plenty of surprises. The additional scenario as a whole contains a Limit Cut episode and bosses among others, along with a secret episode and boss. For a DLC, it's a self-sufficient title. So yeah, like I kind of just thought it is going to be about like 13 or more, but Nomura's kind of, reconfirming to us, reminding us that, hey, don't worry guys, there's going to be a lot with each and every new boss. It's going to be a lot in terms of like fighting. And he's also saying here that the additional, scenario, the Limit Cut episode and the bosses will be a lot for this kind of just DLC. It will contain a lot. And that's what I'm really hoping, that, like, he won't just give us the DLC, and it will just be, like, kind of just alright, just like a few extra things. I'm hoping that there's going to be, like, a lot in terms of, like, not only just, like, the story, but, like, gameplay, and just, like, how I feel about the content overall and what they'll give me. Like, I'm hoping that there's going to be a lot of meal on my plate, and not just, like, what, potatoes, and that's it. So, yeah, it will be released this winter, but is it at the end of the year or during the new year? Because there are parts where CERO, Computer Entertainment Rating Organization, is evaluated again. There are some things which I cannot see yet, but in my opinion, I do not want it to be too close to Final Fantasy VII Remake's release. I want the DLCs to come out quickly. So in terms of like the date, we know it's going to be around like the end of the year, around winter, but in terms of like the exact date, he can't like fully say what that date is, because it's not really up to him. It's really up to the company that he kind of works with, Square Enix and CERO. So like, it's really more up to them as to when it's going to come out. but you know, like he says that, hey, if I did have it my way, or if I do have some say in it, I want it to be, you know, like as separated from Final Fantasy VII Remake as best as I can. I don't want them to, you know, be too close together, because it'd be like, yeah, like a lot of game companies, you know, I don't want to have, you know, like 2 big game releases be too close together, even though technically it's only like a DLC, but you know, still, you know, he wants them, you know, like be separate. And you know, it is, you know, Final Fantasy VII Remake is gonna, you know, come out in like March. This is more around like the end of the year. We just don't know when, and it kind of sounds like that he really doesn't even know when, also, to be exact on the exact date. But yeah. And moving on to the last one, how do you control Roxas and the others within Remind? During the main story, in the same way players were able to choose to play as Riku and Aqua, Roxas can also be chosen, and you will be able to continue through the additional scenarios. As you progress, there is a segment where you're able to choose the character you want to play as. The additional scenarios themselves are independent of this. This is content you'll be able to enjoy once you clear the story. Okay, so I'm gonna have to like kind of go back in this and kind of like go part by part, because that was like a lot. So, during the main story, in the same way players were able to choose to play as Riku and Aqua, Roxas can also be chosen, and you will be able to continue through the additional scenarios. Okay, so I think it's saying that like once you get to like a point where, you know, like in the main story as we played, you get to play as Riku or Aqua, you now get to choose which one you get, not just like have the game pick it for you. And they're saying that applies to Roxas. And it kind of reconfirms that down here. It says, as you progress, there is a segment where you're able to choose a character you want to play as. So like, yeah, like say for example, we go down into the land of departure, receive Mentis, we go up where the cutscene kicks in, but before it kicks in, you can pick which character you want to play as, I'm assuming. So maybe either, you know, Aqua, Ventus, or, you know, Sora, or like say like the Keyblade Graveyard, you go in, and you get to play as like, you know, like when you fight Syax, either Shion, Lee, or Axel. And, or, sorry, no, Roxas, Lee, or Shion, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. I'm sorry. But yeah, that's what I'm assuming, and that's really, really interesting. Now, on to the next bit down here. It says, the additional scenarios themselves are independent of this. So, like, the new scenarios, like, say, for example, when, you know, like, Luxord is talking to Xigbar, basically, I'm assuming that maybe there's gonna be some kind of fight, that maybe you get to play as one of them, but you can't get to choose who you play as. I'm assuming it's something like that. Again, I wish they had it like more context to what they say, you know, like right here, but they really don't. So like, but yeah, they say that, you know, the additional scenarios you won't get to pick, the game picks for you. So yeah, that's kind of interesting too. And this content you'll be able to enjoy once you clear the story. Now, either they're talking about the additional scenarios here, or they're talking about the parts where you get to like play as different characters in the game, you know, like up here. But I'm not sure which part they're talking about. And, or they could mean this, it could mean this. Once you beat the main story, once you beat the game once, you get to go back into the game and pick, and then be able to do all of these other ways of playing the game, where you could like pick the characters. And maybe once you beat the story the first time, then you get to play the you know, the game again and play it with the additional scenarios. That's what I want to assume. I'm not entirely sure on that, so yeah, but yeah, that's really, really interesting. Okay, and by the way, one more little bit of information kind of came out from the Famitsu article. It wasn't in the kind of article that was in KH13s.com. It was kind of like a last part added to it. That again, this dude, who is he, really? It's like, because, you know, Xemnas, you know, kind of like implied that, you know, he's from the past, he's from Union Key, but people are saying that it's not in the way that we think, and a lot of people are speculating that Demyx is the Master of Masters, and it says right here, Famitsu was like, by the way, Demyx is, and Nomura replied, come out, weird smile. And so it's kind of like, even Famitsu are kind of like, wait, so Demyx, man, Demyx, is he? And Nomura's kind of like, nah, I can't say nothing, nah. So it's kind of like, I don't know, but Yeah, like, dude, if Demix is really the master of masters, I wouldn't be upset by it. But I'd be, like, I don't know, like, I don't know how I would fully feel if he was, but yeah, like, it's really something, that's really something. But yeah, as of this, that is the whole Famitsu article as far as I can tell. Now, Nomura does go on to talk about Final Fantasy VII Remake, and that has a lot of interesting information. Maybe I'll make a video on that, just seeing what he has to say about that. But in terms of the Kingdom Hearts 3 portion of the Famitsu article where they're talking to Nomura, that's about it, and I feel like that gave a lot of good information as to how some parts of the gameplay will work and how you pick different characters, and he kind of gives a little bit about how the limit cut bosses, or just the bosses in general for the DLC, there's going to be a lot, and it's going to be like very creative from what he was trying, like kind of like trying to say, and I really enjoy that, and I'm really hopeful and hyped that the DLC Remind will be very good. I really am. I really hope it is. But until the next one, guys, this is Shark Tank. See you on the next one. Have a great, awesome, and amazing day. Peace.